There is a space in my heart where I find the truth. I find me in you, a truth beyond what you may see now. But when we are one, we bring more good about. No matter who or what you call yourself or where you come from, yeah, there is a place in this world with open arms right now. Welcome to love, welcome to peace, welcome to our community. Be who you are, let your light shine. We're so much more when we unite. You are welcome here. You are welcome here. I see with new eyes, allow and unfold, embrace and let go, trust the flow. There's a freedom in love when you follow your heart. Together we are stronger than we could ever be apart. No matter who or what you call yourself or where you come from, yeah, there is a place in this world with open arms right now. Welcome to love, welcome to peace, welcome to our community. Be who you are, let your light shine. We're so much more when we unite. You are welcome here. You are welcome here. Breathe in and out. Slowly feel all that's around you. All that you feel, all that you know. Let it go. Welcome to love, welcome to peace, welcome to our community. Be who you are, let your light shine. We're so much more when we unite. Yeah, when we unite. Oh, we unite. Yeah, yeah, when we unite. Yeah, yeah, welcome here. Love is welcome here. Peace is welcome here. You are welcome here.
Yes, indeed, you are welcome here. And I am so happy that you have chosen to spend a little time with us this afternoon. I am Reverend Cindy Grimes, and I am the Spiritual Director of Center for Spiritual Living Ocala. And we have a great conversation in store for you this afternoon. I'm really excited about our guests and what we're going to be talking about, which is the idea of transition, the nature of transition. If this time that we have been through this pandemic isn't a time of transition, I don't know what it is. And I will be honest with you, as I've been going along with this curriculum, and we are using the work of Valerie Kaur and her book, See No Stranger, as our inspiration for the conversations this year. And we're talking about loving ourselves. And as we came into this month, the conversation is around transition. And I have to tell you, it was a little scary because I always go through everything first. And transition had a connotation of pain that went with it. And so that has shifted. So I'm excited to share that with you all. And I just jumped right on in. But for those of you who are first time visitors, I want to let you know a little bit about who we are. And so, our values at Center for Spiritual Living Ocala. This is what's important to us. And if this is what's important to you, then that's awesome because we're a match. And I'm assuming because you're here that is what is so. So the first thing on our list is spiritual growth and practice. That is the whole reason we come together, is to grow together, to learn from one another, and to do this spiritual practice, walking one another home to the truth of who we are. We value love. We believe that that is really the essence of who we are, and what is most important is to love ourselves, to love one another. Love in action is what we're talking about here. We value appreciation. We know that the things that we are grateful for and what we appreciate grows in our awareness. We value community. Having that tribe, having those people around you who can help you when you falter, those people who are in your corner, your cheering section. We are that for one another at the Center for Spiritual Living, kind of your family of choice for those of you whose families maybe are not the best of support. Maybe you find that here at CSL Ocala. We value freedom. Freedom of expression, to be all that we came here to be, free of the constraints of what the world and others might think we're supposed to be about. We value creativity, how we show up in the world, how we get to use the resources and the things around us to create the worlds that we want to see. That's creativity. We value health and wholeness, health in all of its aspects. Physical health, relationship health, health in your finances, which goes into generosity and financial well-being. So those are things that are important to us at CSL Ocala. We are in a moment of transition at CSL Ocala, and there is going to be an opportunity for us to look at these values and just kind of reassess as we spring forth into 2022. So stay tuned for that. And so our vision and our mission. Our vision is that we are a model center for spiritual living, as evidenced by the transformational impact we have on our own spiritual community, larger centers for spiritual living, Florida, where we live. And so we are part of a larger organization. Center for Spiritual Living Ocala is just one of over, I think, 350, 400 centers that are found throughout the world. And we are just one of those. And our mission is to empower individuals to awaken to the power and presence that lies within and all around them, so they may live their best lives. And so we're doing what we came here to do. If your life is working, right? My life works when it works for me, but it also helps that it works for my family and my friends and my spiritual community and the world around me. We're all just interconnected. And so anyway, I feel like I have talked and talked and talked. So I'm going to bring in my team member here. Hello, Donna.
Hi, y'all.
Hello.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's good. It's good. Like I said, I'm super excited about this conversation.
Me
And
too.
coming from the mindset I had going into it, that's really very fun. So thank you. You are part of that, as well as our guest, who I'll introduce in a little bit. So I'm going to let you go ahead and start us off with an invocation, and we'll bring in our guest.
All right. Hello, happy Fun Day Sunday to everybody. I'm so excited to be here and to start us off on the right foot here. Is just to connect us to who we really are as Spirit expressed. And so I'm just going to invite you now to get centered in your seat wherever you are. If you feel like closing your eyes, or if you can, if you're not listening to us while driving, that is heavy machinery, that sort of thing. But I want you to just take a moment and just join me and just know that I have my little incense burning here. Get it? Right? Isn't that wonderful? So I get to smell that lovely smell. And we're just going to take a few beautiful, deep breaths together. In through the nose, holding it, and breathing out through the nose. And now I invite you to just breathe normally and naturally as we get entered into our beingness. I recognize the allness of the one, that wonderful life energy that pulsates and moves all around us. It is the thing that tells the grass to grow and the tide to come in and out and the stars to stay in the sky and gravity to hold me to this seat. All of those beautiful things that make up life. And as I sit in my seat, I know that life is pulsating through my very veins. My cells are turning over. My body is operating. My heart is beating. I too am a part of life. And the essence of life and that beautiful creative energy that I call God is everywhere present. It is in and through and around all things. Everything that used to be here, everything that shall come before this, after this moment, all of it is God expressed, working together symbiotically. And I am a part of that allness as I sit here in the seat, taking this breath consciously, smelling the incense, allowing gravity to hold me to my seat. The divine love that is the universal energy that is God is existing in my very form right now. And I know that if it's true for me, it's true for every other person on this call, every person that existed, ever shall exist. We are all a part of the oneness. And it is that allness that allows us to open our hearts and our minds to different ideas and different ways of assimilating the human experience. And as we make sense of it all, we listen to the conversation today, and spirit nods in agreement as spirit speaks to spirit today on this call. And we are reminded that we're all interconnected, all interwoven in this beautiful experience that is life. I'm so grateful for my life. I'm grateful for God's life. I'm grateful for your life and for every single life that ever touched ground onto this planet, ever shall come. The ones who behave well, the ones who do not, who all of it is life expressed joyfully. I am so grateful for all of it because this experience gives me the emotional journey that is humanity. And as I connect to the oneness today, I'm grateful for my willingness to show up, my willingness to do the work. And I'm grateful for each and every person who's willing to open their hearts and listen this morning, this afternoon, tonight, every other time. We're opening our hearts and listening as God speaks to us through every face. And I release it now into the law, knowing that it's already done. And so it is. Amen. Ashe.
Thank you, Donna. Sometimes I get so like zoned out when you're praying. Like, oh, who's got this next thing? Well, what's happening next? Oh, yeah. Thank you so much. That was just beautiful. Just set the stage so perfectly. So I wanted to tell you a little bit about our guest speaker today. And so, but to back up a little bit, I'm going to be speaking this week on Soul Evolution Collaborative. has put together a summit, and I'm really honored to have been asked to speak, and that is happening all of this week. And so as I was thinking about this conversation about transition and, and planning for what I'm going to speak about this week, the idea just dropped into my head, to invite Reverend Ryan Pulley to join us in this conversation about transition. Now, Ryan and I, we had met, but we don't really know one another. And the idea dropped in like really late in the week, And so I just thought, well, what the heck? I'm going to ask and just see if he is available. It feels like a divinely inspired idea. And lo and behold, they decided to join us today. So I'm very excited to bring in Reverend Ryan Pulley. There we go.
Hello.
Hola.
Donna, thank you for that. I'm super chill now. Super chill, Donna.
So
Yeah,
Yeah, that was fabulous. Thank you.
she certainly created a beautiful space.
Absolutely.
So I would love for you to tell folks a little bit about Soul Collaborative and the upcoming summit, and then we'll take a deep dive, and they'll understand why I'm so excited to have this conversation.
Well, of course. Thank you, Reverend Cindy. Yeah, the Soul Evolution Collaborative, myself, Reverend Dan Granda, and Chris LaHafe had vision for this ministry for about 3 years. And so we are 1 year in the making. We have celebrating our 1 year anniversary. And so we're really we call ourselves a bricks and clicks community. So it's really a hybrid community of not only virtual platforms, but also in-person small group and large group gatherings. And so we had this vision, this idea of personal transformation and communal evolution, because we know that's what happens. We start with ourselves and doing our own work, and then that really informs how we show up in communities. And then when we show up in communities that way, it just shifts how we all show up in the world. And so that's been our vision. And so, yeah, this week we're doing the Oh Shift, Now What Summit. And so it's all about this shifting. It's all about this very topic of transition and stepping from maybe old ways of being or showing up into new ways that we never thought possible. And so it's we're really excited to have this go on this week, 7 to 9, Monday through Thursday. It's going to be fun time. Yep. So you can just pop on over to soulevolutioncollaborative.org and get all the information about it. So we're thankful to have Reverend Cindy be one of the speakers on Tuesday night. So that's what we're up to.
Thank you, Reverend Ryan. I hope people saw, could see that beautiful graphic there with the information to come on, and I'll show it again, and then I'll show it again at the end.
Perfect.
So, yes. So, Reverend Ryan, I'm not sure if you know this, and we actually did not speak about this. So we had a quick chat yesterday for a little bit, just kind of talking a little bit about today's conversation. And Reverend Ryan is a licensed social worker, licensed clinical social worker. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So your job, not only are you a co-founder of the collaborative, right?
Correct.
You have like a day job where you're seeing people,
Yeah, social worker by day, ministry by night is, and sometimes it blurs, but yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. I do mental health services in skilled nursing facilities and assisted livings. So it's speak about transition. I spend a lot of my time helping people navigate transition, which kind of informs my own ability to do that too. So.
Yes, which was why, again, you were the perfect person, right? And I didn't know that about you even when Spirit dropped in that idea. I'm just living in that place of surrender. And it was like, well, he could say no. Maybe he doesn't have the time to do it, right? And there you were.
It's all perfect, right? It's all perfect.
And that was my background as well. I was a social worker. Like half my professional career was really around social services in Department of Children and Families in Florida. And so protective services, family advocacy, and hospice, as well as home health.
Right.
So, yeah, very interesting, right?
Yeah, we're like
And
the
Donna,
same person,
you know,
Cindy.
what was that?
I said we're like the same person. That's a lot of my experience as well.
Isn't that interesting? It's just fascinating, right? Just keep leaning in and let spirit guide.
Yeah.
Right. It's just so perfect. And Donna, of course, you know, people who know our community know that Donna's frontline nurse has been on the front line of COVID, like, you know, in the epicenter of the epicenter when it blew up. It's just
Yeah.
so
That was fun. Talk about a roller coaster of an experience. Yeah, but I've been slowly, getting away from it. It does get exhausting.
yeah,
Yeah,
yes.
yes.
My
My
voice is
voice is
coming
coming
through
through your.
your feed, Donna.
Oh,
Sorry, I could hear it again. I don't, something weird is happening with the sound. Let's see. Sorry, I had a squirrel moment. Chris Ashley, who's watching right now, says Soul Evolution Collaborative Summit is going to be amazing. I'm speaking as well as Rev Cindy, and we'll be attending the whole event. You can sign up at soulevolutioncollaborative.org. But what I was saying is this idea of the transition. You know, when we think of transitions, at least when I think of transition, it did have that kind of connotation that brings up fear, like, ugh, you know, this is going to be rough. And you know, in birthing process, which is the metaphor that Valerie Kaur uses, we love ourselves through birth, right, with breathing and pushing, and there's that time of transition. And it's painful and it's messy. And so that was kind of the perspective that I was coming into this conversation with, right? That transition, like, oh my gosh, we've just all been through this hell with COVID and you know, the messiness and the pain of it. But something shifted in our conversation. Something shifted in my interactions with Donna this week and my conversation with you, Reverend Ryan. And I just came out of it just so hopeful and excited because you are two of the most self-expressed people that I know. And I know that it wasn't always like that. There was before, right? There was the thing that happened, the transitionary period, and then there's the after, which is what we get to see, right? So I'd love to hear from, you know, the two of you, kind of, you know, that backstory, right? Like what was the point? And to make it really universal, you know, we talk about universal principle here. I think one of the things that we're here to learn on this spiritual journey is love of ourselves. Me?
Now we can.
Now you're hearing me. Okay.
Now
It was doing the, what do you call it? Buffering again.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't know where it stopped.
You stopped at love of yourself.
Right. So loving yourself, right? When everything in the world is telling you what is wrong with you, right? That you're somehow broken, because that feeling of brokenness and shame is a universal. Yeah. Everybody at some point has that in their lives. And I know the two of you as ministers, even Donna, you're a practitioner in this movement, but you are an ADL minister as well. That there was a point where that tipped over, where you realize, wow, I am worthy of love, right? And other people's opinions, the world's thoughts about who I am, are not as important as what I believe and what I know about myself, right? So who wants to go first with that one?
Well, I can jump in. I can, if that's okay, Donna, I can jump in. You know, this idea of transition, you know, when I guess I can just speak generally, like the biggest transition that I have experienced, and is from this idea of playing small to this idea of playing big. And there's a lot of like details in between of that. But this whole, and I think that for me, that was the biggest transition in this whole conversation about self love. Because I think that we are conditioned, whether from our family of origin or societal influences, not to be, not, to take up as least amount of space as possible. Don't be too loud. Don't be too whatever. Don't be too whatever. And so we create these little boxes. And so I think that's what I had done for most of my life, is created this little box of showing up the way I was told to show up, or show up the way I was expected to show up. And sometimes it was very kind of boxing. But when I really started, especially like these principles of religious science and science of mind, that when we talk about this connection that we have with this divine presence, this thing that is back of all things, that thing that animates everything, animates me, I'm like, well, my goodness, how can you play small with that? And so it began to really seep into my awareness that, who am I playing small for? And so my purpose was to be the fullest expression of that, to be the fullest expression that I was this individualized expression. And so it was the adventure of my life is to live that in a big way. Now that doesn't come sometimes without the pain and discomfort that Reverend Cindy has spoke of. But I began to realize, I don't know that comfort is the goal. I don't know that comfort is the goal of life. And I think we're going through these constant transitions. I mean, transitions for me in my faith of my childhood faith now into the spiritual practice that I have. Transition from living the fullest of my gender expression. I mean, these are transitions that are not only challenging, but I have been able to step into what I call aggressive authenticity. And once you do that, once you pass that kind of transition stage where it's a little painful and a little discomfort, and you step into this big space of aggressive authenticity, you can't go back. I mean, like everything else is like it's just not satisfying. It's like, having like the full fat ice cream and then trying to have that sugar-free stuff. No, it ain't happening. It's like, and so for me, that's what transition has looked like. It's been not only this discomfort, but then this really raw experience of authenticity and vulnerability, which that's where this growth happens. That's where that fullness happens after transition. So that's kind of how, in a very small nutshell, that transition has really shown up in my life, and how it has really informed this idea of self-love, because I think that is just imperative in this process. For sure.
Yeah. I think, what I love about what you're saying is that reminder, right? That the transition isn't the end. It's just that kind of in between period.
Yeah.
Because what transition means is that we're moving from one state to another, right? And there's no going back.
Nope.
And that's probably, that's a lot of what makes it scary too.
Yeah.
Right. And painful because, a lot of people will stay in a familiar, painful situation because it's familiar, out of fear of what is in front of you when you can't see the whole thing. You don't, right? It doesn't show up like the crystal ball, like you can see what the future is going to be. Sometimes you just have to leap.
Yeah, I wish it showed up that way sometimes, but it doesn't. You're right. And that, the transition is that juicy middle. It's kind of that to be continued sort of part in between. And sometimes you can hang in that space for a bit, but it's like, if we can sit in that discomfort just for a moment, maybe just for a moment longer than we think we can, like on the other side, man, it's just like this expansion that we could have never thought possible. But it's allowing ourselves to sit in that discomfort, which we're not always great at. I'll speak for myself. I'm not always great at doing that, but I think that that's the benefit of community too, is to support each other in that discomfort and seeing each other on that other side. I love what you talked about, the walking each other home. And I think that's true, is just being able to do that. And that's just the tremendous power of community, especially spiritual communities like this, is to be able to see each other in that.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. I know, Donna, you have a lot to share on this. as
Mhm.
well.
Well, I remember when it hit me, Cindy. There was a day, I think I was in the middle of an argument with my husband, and my kids were like huddled together over in a corner, holding each other. And I looked at them and I thought, this is not good for them, and it's not good for me. And I remember there being a little moment that flipped that said, I'm done. Enough. I'm done putting myself on a back burner. It was just in that little moment, and I just decided I'm valid too. And all those other times I used to martyr myself because I thought that that's what needed to happen. I needed to become this martyr and give because I'm a giver. Well, at some point, the giver has to receive something. And if the giver's not receiving, the well does run dry. And I had to be able to show up and give to my children. And I couldn't do that with where I was. And it was that moment I was so frustrated and done that I said, I'm done. And this calm came over me. And then I said, okay, what's my next step? I'll just do this by myself. And then I decided that, you know what? I'm strong enough. I've been doing it by myself. I'm strong enough. I can do this. And then when I didn't feel like I was strong enough, I pulled on the examples of where I saw that kind of strength. And I remember for me, the icon was Grace Jones. I don't know why, but Grace Jones popped in my head. This formidable, dark skinned, loud, big mouth, big smile like me, skinny, little head person that just was fire. And I thought, that's who I'm going to be. I'm going to be like this. And so I started molding myself that way. But I had to make the decision. And I remember when I stepped foot in CSL, I was still kind of working on it. And even after ADL, which talks about the greatest degree of love, that was the one thing I got from them that I was like, whoa, that greatest degree of love said everybody, including me. I was like, oh, me too? Because for whatever reason, I just never included myself in the equation. I don't know why. I just never did. I was like, yeah, for everybody else, then mom will be happy. I take care of everybody, then mom will be happy. And it actually turns around that now I say, is this going to make me happy and everyone happy too? If the answer is no, then find another solution that works for everyone, me included. And if I'm not harming somebody else or taking away from somebody else, then my point is valid as well. And then that's how I started to say, how can I show up? And everything else has been coming from that, which then makes me feel like, okay, I can step into my authenticity in a big way and then still nurture those who are coming up as well and trying to teach that to them as well. So the teaching definitely started with ADL and then it just blew it right out of the water when I found CSL. And it was that. And then once I got to the whole God is everywhere present and I'm an expression of the divine energy, the playing small, like Reverend Ryan said, the playing small, like, really? How dare you? I mean, the very thing that, creates sunrises and sunsets and the ocean and the mountains is in your DNA. How dare you play small? I was like, whoa, okay. It's like me saying God is small. And I was like, ooh, that doesn't feel good. So let me stop doing that. And that's when I started saying, okay, I can do this. And that's where my transition, and I'm telling you, I'm still in the goo a little bit. I'm still in the little goo. It's okay though. I'm coming out. That's why it's called Your Phoenix is Rising. I'm coming out of the goo, But without that goo, man, you can't really get it. And you have to be willing to put yourself in that transition, because you can't see out the other side of it. It's like putting yourself in a little box that's nothing but fog and you don't know how you're going to get out the other side, but you got somebody else on the other side with just an arm sticking out to grab my hand. And you have to make the decision to grab the hand and you have to make the decision to step forward. And it's scary and it's crazy and lots of people won't understand it, but guess what? It's worth every single moment. You just have to wait for it.
You are so right, Donna. So right. It's so worth it. It's so worth it because we pay a price, right? We pay a price for leaving things as they are, or like hanging on so tight to the thing you don't want to let go of, right? There's a price that's paid for that, but there's also a price that's paid for not, for not stepping into your truth, right? Like
even if the price is not you, like you don't live your best life, the fact is, whatever you're molding around these young people, even if they're not your children, they are learning it from our example.
Yeah.
And so that was where I started. I couldn't show up for myself and be like, oh, okay, myself is worth it. But all I had to do was take one look at my children and I'm like, they are worth it. And they were young. So I was like, all of the potential that's there, I would be squashing. And as a parent, I had to say, your fullest potential. And how could that happen? I have to make sure that that mold is available. And I could do it for them. Even if I couldn't show up for me at first, I showed up for them. And that warrior mama energy ain't no joke, man. We will move mountains for our children. And that was what did it.
Yeah. So beautiful. Go ahead, Ryan.
Reverend Cindy, when you were talking about those strongholds, those things that we hold tightly to, it made me think about that. Every once in a while, I have to do an evaluation of my white-knuckled strongholds. These are these things in my life that I am going to hold on to, and I don't care if someone's going to rip it out of my hands. And I think for me, that's the area to get really curious about. That is probably in need of a transition, probably in need of a shift. And so when I have these really strong reactions to things, I'm like, nope, I'm gonna hold this real tight. Then I'm like, oh, what's that about? And so I think curiosity is our greatest spiritual superpower, honestly. And so getting really curious about those things that we're holding tight to, and saying, what's that about? Why am I holding about it? Is it something underneath? And in our teaching too, it's never about the thing that's in front of us. It's always about those layered underneath beliefs. And so that's for me, it's a red flag to be like, oh, this is an area that needs to be looked at. And maybe this is an area that needs to be shifted and I like the word shift and what transition and shifting, I think are kind of are synonymous. But like, that's an area that needs shifting, whether it's just a loosening or relaxing, unclenching. I'm a clencher. And so it's like an unclenching. And so for me, it's to be really have curiosity really mixed in with this idea, so that we're constantly evaluating those areas in our life as they show up. And then, just like Donna was talking about, then those areas are like, nope, we're going to have to change this and show up differently. And so if we're not looking, those opportunities can really pass us by. And so I think constantly having kind of that curiosity kind of in our back pocket of like, okay, what's the opportunity here? What's the opportunity? Where do I need to step from this space into another space? And it's uncomfortable and it's scary, but yeah, it's just like, it's a powerful, that curiosity is a powerful tool, I think, in this whole conversation. I'm just curious about everything at this point, because then you're open to whatever comes when you have this idea of like this cultivating this spiritual power of curiosity.
Yeah.
And I just
Go ahead, Donna.
thing, just piggybacking off of what Reverend Ryan just said, that curiosity, just like a child can get curious about the world around it, knowing that the parents right there got its back. And for us, it's that knowingness in the back of my mind. It says that God's got my back. Spirit's got my back. Everything, the universe is conspiring for my good. All of this has been placed so that I may enjoy and experience. And so if I have that in the back of my head, then no matter what shows up, I can be like Reverend Ryan and be curious about it and pull it apart and really look at it, knowing that in back of this, Spirit's got my back. Okay, you can venture out, but when you get too close to the edge, I'm going to pull you back. And sometimes that curiosity is, oh, this is Spirit pulling me back. When something doesn't work out for you and you're like, oh my God, this thing didn't work. And oh my God, my whole life is ending. And it's like, wait a minute. What if Spirit is going, honey, you're going too far. Let's pull you back in. That's why you didn't buy that house that you really wanted, because it was going to be a disaster. You didn't know, but Spirit knew that you were going to jump off that ledge. Let's rein you back in. And it's such a gentle thing. And it's so quiet and silent that you think that, oh my God, I'm falling. No, you're not, honey. You're just being gently pulled back.
I love that analogy, Donna. So beautiful. The picture, the mama energy, like all of that. I totally feel it. Did you want to say anything to that, Ryan?
I cannot speak to the mama energy,
Yeah.
but but yeah, I mean, I can speak to that, um, just that strong sort of reaction and that protection, and I think that, you know, often we have that sort of reaction for others, but man, what game changer would it be if we had that reaction to ourselves? The strong energy of like, oh no, that's not the right thing to be saying to yourself. Man, we speak to ourselves with such harshness. I can only speak for myself, but I say things to myself I would never say to anyone else. So it's like having that same protective energy for ourselves and for our hearts and for our minds and for our souls, really helps to kind of buoy us and sustain us in these times of transition, because we have that, we know that, you know, the spirit within. And so just allowing that to be the self-talk, allowing that to be that anchoring space, can really be just so transformational in these periods of transition, these periods of challenge, so we can have a different relationship to transition, because we have that steadied space within us. Just like you can venture out as a child because you have those caregivers around you that are going to protect you, and so we can venture more boldly into these areas, knowing the truth of who we are, and just allowing that to be our constant self-talk, our constant reflection back to ourselves and to each other. I think is, yeah, I mean, I like that. I like that strong protective energy that Donna spoke of.
Yeah, yeah, it's a great visual.
It is.
Yeah.
And we are balanced in that, because even a kid, man, after a while I still hear my mom's voice in my head, to help guide me. I still hear my mentors. I still hear those voices of those who have gone before, who have helped, and also that still small voice within myself. And like Reverend Ryan said, there's that balancing that happens within ourselves, but we have to learn to listen to the voice and actually identify that, oh, there it is. Because it's not going to scream. I used to think it was going to be this loud, ta-da, burning bush type situation, but no, that's not it. And it's just there, that gut thing that's just innately in us. And I find it curious that even, our animals, I watch my little dog all the time, and she knows exactly where she wants to go. She knows whether or not she's going to eat that thing that I set down. Something's going to come into her that's going to say, yeah, this is going to be yummy. Go ahead and eat it, But just by smelling and touching and cutting into our senses, we know is this for me? You feel this vibration inside of yourself that says, this is for me. Yes. And like almost like every little bubble inside of you goes off. And then when it's not for you, I don't know, I get like apprehension when it's not for me. And sometimes it's a big blaring, run away, run away. So you get used to learning what your own cues are, so you can ebb and flow with it. And then when you aren't sure, you reach out to spiritual community, you reach out to mentors, you reach out to others who have gone down that path, who know, hey, let me help guide you a little bit. So that's what I think is so great about that transition. People think that you're in it by yourself, but you're not. And others have been there, done that, got the t-shirt. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
That is, my gosh, everyone in my life right now, including myself, is going through some kind of major something, right? There's stuff going on, health wise, people moving, losing jobs, people dying. I mean, it's just like this. And I don't know if it's more than usual. I know that it is happening, but here's the other thing is the fact is that things are always in transition. Transition is always happening. Change is always happening, right? So I think maybe we'll close this out with your thoughts on, well, we're gonna really expand on this next week, right? On how to navigate those changes and transitions in the best way, right? So just to sum up, we'll say that the transitions are like all around us, right? They're happening all the time, continually, and those areas of relationship and health and vocation and things like that when those transitions are happening, they can feel very painful, right? But what I'm getting from our conversation today, and from all the conversations we've been having all along through this revolutionary love project and See No Stranger, is that it starts with curiosity, right? It just starts with getting curious and letting go, that capacity to surrender into what is in front of you. Well, maybe the courage, actually. The courage comes first and then the surrender. I don't know if the surrender, you develop the courage as you're, you know, and that's probably the place where the faith comes in, right? Our spiritual faith and that belief that there is really one power and presence in and around and through all of it. And we're just part of it. So I don't know what you all want to say. Anybody want to say anything in closing?
No, I just appreciate the opportunity for the conversation. I think that you're right. I think the world, we're experiencing a lot of transition and a lot of stuff coming to the surface. And I think this conversation of normalizing the discomfort of transition is important, because sometimes we feel like we're doing it wrong. I'm like, am I the only one having a hard time with this? Well, no, we're not. And so I think that that's what's so important about spiritual communities like this, is like we can actually have these conversations and say, man, it's been a hard day and I'm having a hard time with this. And so when I can show up authentically in my mess, then I can invite y'all to show up in your mess. And then we can actually partner together through this discomfort and really be that sustaining reminder, because sometimes it's hard for us to hold the truth, and sometimes we need others to hold the truth for us until we can pick it up ourselves, especially in times of challenge and transition. I think that's what the beauty is of this conversation, of this community and communities like it around the world, CSL and otherwise, is that continuing to show up authentically and allowing each other to do that really is just something healing about it, especially in these times of transition.
Yeah. And you make such a wonderful point. We are not the only ones that do this, right? So, like, find your place. If you need to be in person and we're not close to you, find a community that meets in person. Find your tribe. These are the times that we really need, our people. And as I said before, sometimes those people are not your family. It's not yours. Sometimes those relationships you need to stay away from, to maintain your health and emotional and mental well-being. That's just the truth of it. So, but have your people, have your community, have your tribe. How about you, Donna?
Oh man, y'all said a mouthful today. So I mean, I just feel very complete. I do. The biggest thing for me is just knowing that the universe is always conspiring for your good. Everything is sent to you for you to experience something. And as you're experiencing it, then you're deciphering and you're growing and going through it. So sometimes it's a growing pain situation, but at the end of the growth is the beautiful thing. At the end of the construction period, there's that beautiful structure. At the end of the birthing process, there's a baby. So you have to just know that when you're going through it, you can go, okay, like Cindy said, last week, if you're going through it and you're like, it's not, what is it? It's all okay in the end. And if it's not okay, it's not the end.
Mm-hmm.
Just know that, oh, I'm in the construction zone. That's what I said to myself the other day. Oh, I'm in the grind. I get it now. Every small business has to grind for a couple of years. Oh, that's it. That's what it is. I'm doing pretty darn good for being in the grind. And that's how I kind of put it. I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty good. And I just kind of pat myself on the back when I show up for myself, even if it's for something really small. I took the day off today and did nothing but watch Netflix. Good for me. Because I'm a busy person. I'm always filling up more and more and more. But sometimes your body says you need to stop today. And you're not sick or nothing like that. You just need to stop and take a moment just to chill. This is good work. Chilling is very good work. So you just can't buy property there. Armando Nandolino, when he first said that, it's okay to go through the valley of the shadow of death. Just don't buy property.
Yes.
Run your way. No, just kidding.
Thank you, Donna. That's so awesome. You know, the reminder that we're really good at talking about ourselves as spiritual beings. But there's another piece of that, right? We are spiritual beings that are having a human experience, right? So love yourself, give yourself a break as you're going through the human experience. If it's not always what you think it should be, it's supposed to look like, you know, we're all just going through it, doing the best we can, and be kind to yourself as you go through whatever the transition is, right? Just be kind. And remember, you're just a human being, just like everybody else. So thank you. Thank you for a lovely conversation. We do gather afterward on Zoom. If you are available, Reverend Ryan, to join us, you are welcome to, you know, we start and we go for, you know, just depends what's going on, who shows up, and we do your prayer request. We continue the conversation kind of offline for whoever wants to dive in a little bit deeper. And so we welcome you to join us for that. And you know, I think I'm going to ask you, Reverend Ryan, if you wouldn't mind to pray us out for this portion of our time together.
Ooh, I would love to do that.
Thank you.
Love to do that. So just resting in this space, arriving right now, knowing that there's one thing going on, one thing that is back of all things. This very essence of things that we see, and oh my goodness, the things we can't see. There's not a place or space or situation or transition or circumstance where this presence is not found. And what's really amazing is that we are connected to it. That it is not something that is separate from us. It's not something that we have to strive to get. It's not something that we have to have the right answer in order to get, or to write the right formula in order to get it or to earn it. But instead, it is who and what we are. And that is pretty cool. It is very breath we breathe. It lives its life through us and does its dance as us. And so from this space of connection, I just speak a word now, knowing this power and presence that exists in all of us is that stabilizing, buoying factor in these times of transition, in these times of challenge, in these times of not knowing what our next step is, but knowing that through our connection, we are able to step boldly into whatever that is for us to show up in the ways that stir passion, the ways that stir excitement, the ways that actually stir this urge within us to play big. And so I'm grateful for this community. I'm grateful for communities like it. I'm grateful for our ability to have these conversations, to realize that, hey, I'm not the only one. And so I'm grateful for this time that we've had, for the wonderful conversation, for the words of wisdom, and for the expansion that has been created, not only in my life, but everyone who's listening. And so I release these words into that law, into the universe that only says yes, that says, give me more and I will absolutely show you more. So we allow these words to be, knowing that they are, even in this moment, clothed in form. And so it is.
And so it is. Thank you both for a wonderful conversation. I'm just honored, and I'm going to put up the reminder once more about the Soul Evolution Collaborative, the O Shift Now What Summit happening this week. Starts tomorrow, November 8th, and it goes through Thursday from 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern Time. I will be speaking Tuesday evening, and Reverend Ryan will be in between the whole thing and having that panel at the end. And again, we invite you to join us on Zoom. So thank you. All right. Fabulous. Oh, what a good time. I'm glad for all of those of you who are still with us as we go into the next part of our conversation. And that is sharing our gifts and tithes. So if these conversations that we have move you if they help you in some way, if you resonate with the message and what it is that we're doing, we invite you to help support us financially. We have an affirmation that I invite you to make your own. We know that as we give, we receive, right? So if you want to have deeper, closer relationships, you give friendship, right? If you want to have more money in your life, give money, plant the seed, and plant it in the place where you are spiritually fed, whether that's this community or another one. I hope it is this one. Do help support it and get that wheel in motion so that you can create that abundance in your own life. And so here is the affirmation. It is the nature of life to give of itself. As it is the tree's nature to bear fruit and the flower's nature to bloom, it is my nature to share the gifts of my time, talent, and treasure. I participate in the divine flow of life, giving generously and receiving abundantly. I am blessed. I am a blessing, and I am so, so very grateful. And so we make it really easy for people who want to give. You can go to our website at www.cslocala.org/donate, and you can donate via PayPal, or you can do text to tithe on your smartphone. Text the number that's scrolling below, 352-320-5110. And once you have that in your phone, you set it up the first time. All you do is put in the amount of money that you'd like to send. You plug in 20, 200, 2,000, whatever that number is, and then you hit send, and it comes right from your account to ours. So we just are so very, very grateful to everybody who supports us in their financial support, and also the volunteers that come here and actually come to the center and help clean and organize and take care of landscaping and all that good stuff. So I think that brings us to our closing prayer. What else do we have going on? Let me see if there's any comments here. Let's see. Yeah, Deb says, or 20,000. If you want to contribute 20,000, hey, we're here. We'll put it to good use. Let's see. And so, yes, our prayer for protection. Stay tuned for the rest of the month. We will continue this conversation about transition, and we will be talking about the State of Center for Spiritual Living Ocala, and how we're going to return in person, what that looks like, and how we can best serve our community, as well as revisiting our value statement and also our mission and our vision. So I'm excited about that. It's exciting times as we transition out of this post-pandemic world, what we want that to look like. So I invite you to join me in this last prayer, the prayer for protection, which comes from our friends at Unity and James Dillett Freeman. It goes like this: the light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, and the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. And I just pray and affirm that all is well in your world as each one of us go into our respective life experience, that any challenges turn into stepping stones to that greater yet to be. You all have a fabulous week. See some of you on Zoom and the rest of you next week. Love and blessings.